Welcome back to the channel. Okay, guys. So I was actually like done recording for the day because I don't know if you've noticed, I wear a lot of the same stuff in the same videos, which means I batch record. Okay, this is what I do. And I was done. And then I realized that there was a topic that I hadn't really touched on yet that I wanted to have for you guys to look over and to listen to and be reminded of during especially the holiday season. And I want to talk to you about if you've made the difficult decision to remove certain people from your life, they might be trying to show back up um, without acknowledging how they've hurt you, and they want to continue to have a relationship with you without actually acknowledging how they've hurt you or doing anything to change. And that can be really frustrating and it can be really hurtful. And so I want to talk to you about my own experience with it, and just hopefully give you some peace of mind knowing that you're doing the right thing and some encouragement, and just an overall feeling of safety. So before we get into it, and I'm shooting from the hip here. I don't have a script. I don't have anything. We're just shooting from the hip here because I know this is something that you really need to hear. So if you're like, yeah, I definitely need to hear this, or if you've enjoyed any of my other videos, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Make sure that you're sharing this with somebody that you know needs to hear it as well, because we do best when we heal together. Healing doesn't have to be an island. You can have a community. And I know that you know somebody who's like, damn, I'm going through the same thing too. Share this with them and let me know in the comments how this video is helping you, if it was the validation that you needed. And if there are any other questions or things that you're struggling with that I can release in another video. So let's get into it. So I have what I consider to be a soft no contact with my mom. If you've listened to any of my podcast recordings, if you haven't, definitely I'll put a link here for you to look at, about how to recognize whether or not your parents are narcissists or if people in your life are narcissists, and how to protect yourself from their abuse. And I started to notice about 18, 18, probably almost 2 years ago, that my mother had narcissistic tendencies. My father, I didn't know him well enough, like he wasn't around in my life growing up, but because I was so far removed from him, it was always blatantly obvious that he was a narcissist, like blatantly freaking obvious. Um, and so he was just easy to get away from because he was never around. Um, but my mom was a little bit more difficult because she seemed to be beloved by everybody around her. And she is what we consider a covert narcissist. A covert narcissist is someone who is just like, everybody loves them. But the people who are like super close to them are like, something wrong here. I feel like something's up. And it wasn't until I took a step back and I realized, okay, like, damn, she really does everything for her own gain. And it's interesting too, because my mom used to tell me that actually following through with something is just as important as the reason why you do it in the first place. And in that moment, she was telling me who she was. In this way, she was always like, everything that I do has to be for my importance and my glory and my personal gain. And it's cool if it helps you too. And I want it to come off as though it's helping you and that this is for your gain, but I do get something out of it. And normal functioning human beings and people who care about mutually beneficial and loving relationships do not think like that. And I had to really sit back for a very long time and remember everything that she had ever offered to me, anything she had ever offered to do for me. I had to sit and think, wow, she offered to watch my children for me. And she would frame it like, well, you know, you and your husband need a weekend away, so I'll watch your kids for you so that you can go do that. This helped her feel relevant to my children. She needed to remain relevant. So this helped her do that. But she painted it like she was doing me a favor, and she would take them to do things and she would buy them things. And this was all to maintain her relevance. Now, a person who is a narcissist has their own trauma and their own pain. And narcissism is the way that it's settled in their body. However, it is not an excuse for poor behavior or to treat people poorly or to treat people like they are expendable if you do not give them what it is they need, which is an overinflated sense of self. Okay. But And one of the reasons I realized the biggest difference between who my mom was and like defining how she was a narcissist was because if I said, "Hey, Ma, I want to go out with some girlfriends," because my husband deployed a lot. In the first 3 deployments, she was there. And I'd be like, "I want to go out with some girlfriends. Can you watch the kids?" It was always immediate attitude to be like, "No, because why didn't you invite me out with your girlfriends?" And it was like, "Because you're not my girlfriend. You're my mom." And she usually had always made it about the kids anyway. So I would try to find ways to like feed into her ego before I realized that that just wasn't healthy for me. I feel and be like, "Oh, you get time to spend time with the kids and da 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 da." But because it wasn't her idea and because it didn't go with the agenda that she was pushing in that moment, it didn't work for her. And then she would try to make me feel bad. And I was also very emotionally responsible for her feelings that I'd be like, "Okay, you know what? Never mind." And that does a lot to a child. I'm not sure if y'all know this, but you're not responsible for your parents' emotions. You're not responsible for anything when it comes to your parents. And I didn't realize that until I spent an obnoxious amount of time with my in laws. And even now, to this day, when they come and visit, I'm like, "Hey, what do you need?" And they're like, "We don't need you to provide anything. If we want something, we will go get it." Like, we're perfectly capable. Like, different scenarios where, like, my mom, I know that when I moved into this new house, that if I had invited my mom or my brother, they just would have been like, "Give us a key so we can come use your pool anytime we want to." Or just tell me where things are. Or they would have demanded that my guest bedroom be for them and that they could leave all of their stuff there. But my in laws, when they found out we were moving and we told them whatever, they were like, "Okay, well, we're going to rent a truck. We're going to bring down all the tools and stuff that you need. And we're just going to come for a week and work to help you settle in." They like provided all the food while they were here. They did all of the things that I didn't want to do, like changed out all the thermostats and did a bunch of stuff, helped us notice what was wrong with the house, didn't ask for anything in return, didn't expect anything in return. And that's where a lot of us get lost in these relationships with narcissists, is feeling like we have to give something to people, feeling responsible for taking care of them, feeling responsible for their happiness. And it's disturbing, and you recognize that it shouldn't be like this, and you're like, something has to change. And so I said all of that long-winded stuff to say, when you finally decide to cut these relationships for yourself, these people will still try to come back because it's what's in their best interest. It is what feeds their ego. They have to latch onto something that makes them feel important because that is what their unconscious mind has told them is safe for them, is feeling important. And you are old reliable, and they can sink their claws back into you, especially during the holidays. And we need to talk about what that looks like. So I'm just going to show you straight up what kind of messages I have gotten on my phone. It's so funny because I'm trying not to read the text messages that I'm behind on right now. And so yeah, my mom, her text messages are silent, so I don't see when they come in unless I have like and I'm an entrepreneur. I have like 150 unread texts. And so I just so happened to see a couple that she had sent. And a lot of her texts like go back that I haven't answered. And I'll read you some because it's important that you know that once I discovered my mom was like this, I tried to bring it to her attention so that we could fix our relationship. My relationship with my mom is really, really, really important to me. And I hate when people are like, "Oh, you can't just stop speaking to your mom. That's your mom." You do not ever, don't you ever dare open your mouth and tell people that they are wrong for cutting a tie or relationship with someone, because it was probably the hardest thing that they ever had to do. They probably tried for months, if not years, to get these people to see how they were hurting them, and that person refused to acknowledge them. And cutting them off was an act of radical self-preservation for that person. So if you're ever thinking to yourself, "Oh, well, that's your mom, they shouldn't do that," keep that to yourself. Remember when Thumper said, "If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all"? That's you. Keep your mouth shut. Thank you. Okay. And so for my mom, I told her, like, the way that you're behaving is really starting to affect our relationship. It's really starting to rub me the wrong way. The more she would feel so threatened. She was always in an invisible war with my in-laws because she wanted to feel relevant. And the more that she felt threatened by them, the more I leaned into them because she wasn't making me feel safe as my own mother. And at one point, my therapist was like, write a list out to her for the ways that she's hurt you because I needed to get it out of my body. And so I wrote her a list of all the things that had happened and every specific moment that took us to the point where I really felt like I couldn't trust her as my mom anymore. And she wrote me back a letter, then citing every single one of those instances that I mentioned, how she felt threatened and hurt in those moments by me. And one way to look at it is to be like, yeah, okay, well, if you wrote down your grievances, why couldn't she write down hers? Because I am the child. She is my mother. If your child comes to you and says, Mom, you hurt my feelings, you better humble yourself. You better humble yourself and say, I am so sorry I made you feel unsafe. It is my responsibility as your parent to make you feel safe in this world, especially if nobody else will. You better come to your knees and apologize to your child for the way that you made them feel. And if you think that your child owes you anything, especially when you won't even give them that kind of respect, you are sorely mistaken. You are sorely mistaken. Okay? And so all she ever pointed out was her own pain. She never acknowledged mine. And I've always acknowledged hers. When I found out that I had a sister, and you'll hear this on my episode 8, episode 8, Spirituality versus Religion, for my F That podcast. You'll hear what happened with my whole having a whole nother sister. So I have a sister who has the same name as me, and she's 2 months younger than me, because my father was the worst. And when I found this information out, my mother never asked me how I felt about it. She never said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I immediately went to her aid, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that my father had a mistress at the same time he had you as a mistress." I made sure she was okay. That is not my responsibility. That is not my response. That's like my 7-year-old asking me that. Why would I be okay with her asking me that? That's not her job to worry about me. My job is to make sure she's safe. And my mom, to this day, has never asked how I felt about having a sister, basically having my identity rubbed out from underneath me, because we had the same exact first and last maiden name. Insane. Insanity. And she's never asked me. And so it's always just been about her, about her, about her. And it's always just been pointing out, this is what I have a problem with. This is what I have a problem with. It's never been, are you okay? And I have so many examples and so many of my other YouTube videos and podcast episodes that you can listen to, because it just goes on and on and on. But what I want to talk to you about here is some of the ways that narcissists will talk to you to try and make you feel like they're hurting and their pain is more important than your grievance with them. And so I've got one up here, and this was in August, and she said, "I'm so incredibly sorry you feel the way you do, and I wanted to give you time and space. I'm doing well, but I'm heartbroken that I can't see you and the children." And it was like, didn't ask how I was doing, just saying, "I'm sorry you feel the way that you do," which is not an apology. It's a way to get you to shut the hell up. Okay? And straight into, this is why I'm upset. And it's like, that's not going to work, babe. That's not going to work. And she was just saying that, "I'm writing today because I'm getting ready to board a flight to Charlotte to see my dear friend who's dying. And it happened really quickly. And tomorrow isn't promised. And I don't want to face I don't want to waste the few precious moments we have on earth. I'm leaving for this certain country on this certain day. And I would like to see the children on Grandparents' Day, September 8th, because she's very adamant about details. And I'm boarding now, and I hope to hear from you soon." Not, "How have you been doing? What can I do to make this right? Can you please explain to me maybe one more time what I did that caused us to get here?" Nothing like that. Nothing like that. The next message she sent was the day she was going to said country. And she was like, "I'm boarding my flight now. I'll miss you terribly. And I'm looking forward to seeing you when I return on this date." Not, again, this was a whole month later. Nothing different. And then a message, which is now November timeframe when I'm recording this, saying, "Still hoping to see you and the children for the holidays. I'd like to take them to this event on this date. I'll be in town the weekend before that if we could spend a few days. There's a big Christmas program down in this area on this date," which I even if I was available and talking to her, the answer would have been no anyway on that day. And I can take them to that as well. They could spend a few days around that time as well. And then here we go. Life is good, but there's a huge hole in my heart not seeing my precious grandchildren and you, my only daughter. Again, not how can I fix this? What can I do? Can we sit down and have a conversation about what went wrong? Or this is what I've been working on since we haven't been talking. This is what, I have been trying to fix. These are some of the things that I've discovered about myself. Nothing. No reason, way, or, trying to make amends. Just me, 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 me. How can I see the kids? I miss you. Me, 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 me. And this is going to come up so much during the holidays for people like me and you who have made this decision to release people who all they see is themselves. And I hate text messages like this because the unhealed sides of me feel bad for her because I am conditioned to feel emotionally responsible for her emotions. And she's my mom. I should feel like I can talk to her. I don't like spending the holidays without her. I don't like having to do these things without her. I should have been able to have that. I deserved that. But I don't get to have that anymore because it's not good for my mental health. And it's not good for my kids to see me like that. And it's not good for my children to deal with some of the same things that I've had to deal with. It's not fair to them. And it's frustrating because it just hurts all around, right? It hurts all around. And none of this is fair. And it's going to happen so much to you during the holidays. And I want you to know that you're not alone. And I've created an entire community of women who are just going through some of the same things that we're all struggling with inside of my Worthy membership. And you can find the link to join inside of my links on my channel. That it's like, you don't deserve to be by yourself when you're going through this. You're so not alone in these decisions that you have to make. And people can be so hateful on the internet and be like, oh, that's your mom. Oh, that's your dad. Then you go talk to them. You go have that conversation with them. You go tell them where they messed up and where they need to make amends. Why is it always the person who has been abused and who's been hurt? Why is it our responsibility to be the ones who do the fixing? Why is it always on the child to do the fixing with the parent? You brought me here. That's not on me. And people can be hateful like that towards you, and you're starting to wonder if you've made the right decision, but I promise you, you have. Because for whatever that hole is that person left, there are a million people out there who are willing to fill it in ways that are fulfilling for you and not just for them. There are people that are willing to fill it in ways that support you and love on you and make you happy too. And I have friendships like that now that make me feel good, that we sow into each other. We give to each other. They want to see me. I want to see them. It feels good all around. It doesn't just feel one-sided. You are worthy of having more than just one-sided relationships. But you have to move first and decide that you're worthy of having that. And you do that by, one, either cutting these people off or keeping them cut off, maintaining that boundary, as difficult as it can be. As difficult as it can be. I promise you that you're worth it. I promise you that you are. And I'm here for you. And I've created an entire community of people like this who are going through the same things and who are struggling with the same things, and they're healing together because that is what they deserve. And that is what you deserve. And so, again, I just wanted to make this very spur of the moment. And I rambled on for about 20 minutes, but I just wanted you to know that you're not alone, that I'm not someone who preaches at you and isn't going through the same things at the same time. Like you've seen the text. I'm dealing with it too. It sucks. But we're here for you. And we can be together during this crazy season, the holidays, or whenever it is that these people decide to show back up. You made the right decision for yourself. Trust that. Be that. And if you're struggling with the guilt, you still struggle with the shame, you still struggle with the obligation, then you need to check out my Ruthless Pursuit of Self Mastermind, which is where we do all of the unconscious reprogramming work to release you of that guilt, shame, and fear that has come with trying to put other people before you, which has come to you bowing down to narcissists and their needs for so long. Okay. You are worthy. You're deserving. I love you so much. Again, comment below if this helped you. Share this with someone that you know needs to see it. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye.